Welcome back to another episode of English podcast about how to start side hustle, where we dive into the world of side gigs, passion projects, and everything in between. I'm Sarah, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Jake. How's it going, Jake?
Hey, Sarah, I'm doing great. Excited for today's episode. We're going to talk about something that I think a lot of our listeners are curious about: how to actually start a side hustle. We hear about it all the time, but taking that first step can be pretty intimidating, right?
Absolutely. The idea of starting a side hustle can be exciting, but it can also feel overwhelming. Where do you start? How do you find the time? What if it fails? Today, we're going to break it all down and share some real-life scenarios to help you figure it out.
Exactly, so let's kick things off with something relatable. Sarah, do you remember your first side hustle? What was it like getting started?
Oh man, do I ever? My first side hustle was actually freelance graphic design. I had just graduated from college with a degree in visual arts, but I wasn't finding the kind of full-time job I wanted. So I started doing small design projects on the side, mainly for local businesses. Honestly, at first, I had no clue what I was doing in terms of running a business. I just knew I loved designing.
That's such a common story, right? A lot of side hustles start from something you're already passionate about. But let me ask you this: how did you find your first clients? Because that's where a lot of people get stuck. They want to start, but they don't know how to get those first paying customers.
Great question. Initially, it was all about word of mouth. I started with people I knew, friends, family, friends of friends. I remember doing a couple of projects for free just to build up my portfolio. I didn't make much money at first, but it gave me something to show when I started reaching out to small businesses in my area. And I was lucky because one of those businesses recommended me to another, and things just started rolling from there.
That's a smart way to go about it. I think a lot of people underestimate the power of their existing network. You might not think you know anyone who needs what you're offering, but once you put the word out, you might be surprised.
Exactly. And I know you got a story too. Jake, tell us about your first side hustle.
Yeah, mine was a little different. I was working full-time in sales, but I had a passion for fitness. I was always at the gym, and friends started asking me for workout tips. That got me thinking, why not turn this into a side hustle? So I got certified as a personal trainer and started offering one-on-one sessions during evenings and weekends.
That's awesome, but I bet balancing that with a full-time job wasn't easy. How did you manage?
It was definitely a challenge, especially at the beginning. My weekdays were packed with my 9 to 5, and I'd be up early or stay late to train clients. But here's the thing: I was so passionate about it that it didn't feel like work. I think that's key to maintaining a side hustle. You have to really enjoy it, because it's going to take up a lot of your free time.
That's such a good point. If it feels like a chore, you're going to burn out fast. Which brings us to another important topic: time management. You need a plan, or things can spiral out of control pretty quickly.
Definitely, for me, it was all about scheduling. I treated my side hustle just like my main job. Clients had to book sessions in advance, and I stuck to a strict schedule. I also made sure to set aside time for myself, which is crucial. You can't be working all time, even if it's something you love.
Exactly. I remember there were times when I took on too many projects at once. I was working late into the night, and it started affecting my full-time job and my health. I had to learn to say no, which was hard at first because I was so eager to grow my business. But setting boundaries actually helped me provide better quality work.
That's something a lot of side hustlers struggle with: knowing when to say no. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget that you have limits. But if you don't manage your time wisely, you're not going to be able to sustain your side gig in the long run.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about another challenge: the fear of failure. This is huge for a lot of people. We've both had side hustles that didn't pan out the way we expected. How do you handle that, Jake?
Oh, totally. I've had my fair share of failed ideas. I once tried launching a fitness blog to complement my training business, thinking I'd make money through ads and affiliate marketing. But it didn't take off the way I hoped. It was disappointing, but I learned a lot from it, like the importance of understanding your audience and having a clear strategy.
Right, failure is part of the process. My first attempt at selling digital design templates online was a flop. I spent so much time creating these templates, but they barely sold. Looking back, I didn't do enough market research. I assumed people would want what I was making without really checking if there was a demand for it.
That's such a good lesson, and I think it's important for our listeners to know that not every side hustle is going to be a home run. The key is to learn from those experiences and pivot when necessary.
Exactly, and speaking of pivoting, sometimes you start with one idea and it evolves into something completely different. I think being open to that change is crucial. Your side hustle might not look the same a year from now, and that's okay.
Absolutely, flexibility is key, and that brings us to our final point, scaling your side hustle. Let's say you've got your side gig going and it's doing well. How do you take it to the next level?
That's a great question. I think the first step is to evaluate your workload and see if there's potential for growth. For me, I reached a point where I couldn't handle all the design projects on my own, so I started outsourcing some tasks. It was scary to let go of control, but it allowed me to take on more clients and grow the business.
That's a smart move. For me, scaling meant expanding my services. I started offering group fitness classes, which were more time efficient and brought in more revenue. But scaling can also mean automating parts of your business or creating passive income streams, like online courses or digital products.
Yes, and it's important to note that scaling doesn't mean you have to quit your day job. Some people do, and that's great if it's what you want, but you can also have a successful side hustle that stays a side hustle.
Definitely, the beauty of a side hustle is that it's flexible. You can make it as big or as small as you want. And remember, it's supposed to be something you enjoy, not something that adds stress to your life.
Exactly. So, to wrap things up, if you're thinking about starting a side hustle, just start. Don't overthink it. Use your existing network, manage your time wisely, and don't be afraid to fail. Learn from your experiences, be open to change, and scale when you're ready.
Well said, Sarah, and remember, folks, everyone's journey is different. What works for one person might not work for another, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep pushing forward and learning along the way.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you have any questions or want to share your side hustle story with us, hit us up on social media or drop us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review if you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, keep hustling.